Imagine a king of 21, standing on the edge of history. Behind him, a shattered homeland. Ahead, an empire that has ruled for 200 years. Wealth beyond imagination, armies that stretch to the horizon. Yet this boy, this reckless dreamer, dares to believe he can conquer it all. This is the story of Alexander, the boy who defied the gods and became a legend. On a warm summer night in the year 356 BC, under the vast Macedonian sky, a child takes his first breath. In the grand palace of Pella, the air is thick with prophecy. Legends whisper that on the night of his birth, the great temple of Artemis burned, as if the gods themselves were signaling his arrival. This child is no ordinary heir. His name is Alexander, and one day he will carve his name into history as one of the greatest conquerors the world has ever known. From an early age, Alexander was no ordinary child. His mind, sharp as a blade, his spirit, restless, destined for something greater. Under the guidance of the great philosopher, Aristotle, he was taught the ways of wisdom, strategy, and leadership. He studied philosophy, politics, and the art of war. With each lesson, his destiny became clear. He was not just a prince, he was a future king, preparing to shape the world. In the year 336 BC, tragedy strikes. King Philip, Alexander's father, is assassinated, his life cut short by betrayal. And now, the weight of an empire falls upon young Alexander's shoulders. He is no longer just a prince, but a king, a leader, destined for greatness. The question remains, will he rise to fulfill his father's dream, or will the empire crumble under the weight of uncertainty? Imagine standing on the edge of history. A young king, barely in his 20s, stands tall, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Before him, the vast waters of the Hellespont. Behind him, Macedonia, his homeland, the land that forged him. Ahead, the mighty Persian Empire, an empire that has ruled for centuries. Its wealth, its power, unmatched. Yet this young king does not falter. He is about to do the impossible. This is the story of Alexander the Great and his relentless campaign to conquer Persia. It is the spring of 334 BC. Alexander, now king of Macedonia, stands at the edge of a new world. Before him, the waters of the Hellespont shimmer under the morning sun. Behind him, an army of over 50,000 men, warriors, ready to follow him to the ends of the earth. His goal, to fulfill his father's dream, to bring down the mighty Persian Empire once and for all. As his feet touch Asian soil, he does not hesitate. He draws his sword, lifts it high, and then, with a single, deliberate motion, plunges it deep into the earth, a declaration, a promise that all of Asia now belongs to him by divine right. The Persian satraps are waiting. Their army, 20,000 strong, stands firm along the banks of the Granicus River. The current is swift, the terrain treacherous. Alexander's advisors plead with him, do not attack. It is too dangerous. But Alexander is not one to wait. With fire in his eyes and destiny in his heart, he leads his companion cavalry straight into the river, charging headlong into enemy lines. The clash is fierce. Blades flash, hooves pound, chaos erupts. But Alexander fights like a man possessed. His cavalry carves through the Persian ranks. One by one, their lines break, until finally the enemy collapses. The battle is won, and with it, the path into Asia Minor lies wide open. As Alexander advances, he reaches Gordium, a city steeped in legend, a place where fate itself is tested. At its heart rests the Gordian knot, a tangle of rope, ancient, unbreakable, bound so tightly, no one has ever undone it. And yet, a prophecy lingers, whispered through time. Whoever unties this knot shall rule all of Asia. Alexander steps forward. He studies it, his mind sharp, his resolve unshaken. Then, with a single, swift motion, he draws his sword and slices through the knot. No struggle, no hesitation, just a single cut. And with it, destiny itself bends to his will. The path to greatness is now in his hands. But Persia is vast, and Darius still holds the throne. Before Alexander can claim true victory, he must secure the coast. His eyes turn to Tyre, a city of legend, an island fortress, believed to be impenetrable. For 7 long months, the siege begins. Alexander commands his men to build, stone by stone, a massive causeway stretching across the sea, inching closer to the towering walls. Day and night, his army fights, relentless, determined. Tyre resists, but Alexander does not waver. The final assault comes, and the city falls. The once unbreakable fortress now lies in ruin. Alexander has done the impossible. He has mastered siege warfare, and with Tyre conquered, the gateway to Egypt is finally his. Upon arriving in Egypt, Alexander embarks on a journey deep into the vast desert to seek the wisdom of the Oracle of Amun in the sacred temple of Siwa. The air is thick with mystery, the silence of the desert broken only by the whispers of fate. And when he stands before the oracle, the prophecy is revealed. He is no mere man, but a god among mortals, destined to rule the world. The gods have spoken, and Alexander's path is set. With Egypt secured, Alexander turns his attention to the future, envisioning a city that will stand as a testament to his legacy. In 331 BC, he establishes Alexandria, a city strategically located at the mouth of the Nile, ensuring access to both Mediterranean trade and Egyptian wealth. Designed with grand avenues, towering structures, and a bustling harbor, Alexandria is destined to become a center of commerce, governance, and culture. Over time, it flourishes, drawing scholars, artists, and merchants from all corners of the known world. The city houses the legendary Library of Alexandria, a beacon of knowledge, where the wisdom of Greek, Egyptian, and Eastern civilizations is preserved for centuries. More than a mere settlement, Alexandria embodies Alexander's dream of a united, enlightened world, one that transcends national and cultural divides. It is October 1st, 331 BC, the day that will determine the fate of empires. On the vast plains of Gaugamela, Alexander faces Darius III for the last time. The Persian army, formidable and seemingly endless, stretches before him, chariots, war elephants, and tens of thousands of disciplined soldiers ready for war. The odds are staggering, but Alexander is not deterred. He employs superior tactics, leading a feigned retreat to lure the Persians into disarray before launching a decisive cavalry charge through their center. The battlefield erupts in chaos. Darius, witnessing his forces crumbling, panics and flees, just as he did at Issus. Without their king, Persian morale collapses. One by one, the great cities of the empire, Babylon, Susa, Persepolis, fall before Alexander's might. The once mighty Persian Empire is no more. Standing among the ruins of the Persian Empire, Alexander surveys the battlefield. His victory is absolute, but at what cost? Thousands of bodies litter the ground, a grim reminder of the price of conquest. Though the road to the Persian heartland lies open, uncertainty lingers. What challenges await beyond these ruined cities? How will he govern such a vast and diverse empire? These questions weigh on his mind as he prepares for the next chapter of his journey. With Babylon and Susa under his control, Only one city remains to complete his conquest: Persepolis, the jewel of the Persian Empire. This city, home to the fabled royal palace of Darius and Xerxes, symbolizes Persian power and prestige. In a dramatic act of finality, Alexander orders its destruction. Flames engulf the grand halls, and the palace, once a seat of kings, crumbles into ashes. Some say it is an act of revenge for the Persian sacking of Athens a century before. Others believe it is a deliberate symbol of transition, erasing the old order to pave the way for a new era of Hellenistic rule. Whatever the reason, the burning of Persepolis marks the definitive end of the Persian Empire. Determined to unify his diverse empire, Alexander makes a bold and symbolic decision. He marries Roxana, a Persian princess of noble lineage. This union is more than just a personal alliance. It is a political and cultural statement. By marrying into Persian royalty, Alexander seeks to bridge the divide between his Greek Macedonian soldiers and the Persian elite. He envisions a new world where Greek and Persian customs blend, fostering loyalty among the conquered peoples. To reinforce this vision, he encourages his officers to marry Persian women, solidifying bonds between the two civilizations. But not all of his men approve. Many still see Persia as the enemy. Alexander's ambition knows no bounds. With Persia behind him, his eyes turn eastward, toward the mysterious and fabled lands of India. But the journey is brutal. His army marches through the Hindu Kush mountains, enduring freezing temperatures, treacherous terrain, and dwindling supplies. Snow and ice lash against them, but Alexander's determination remains unshaken. He reminds his men that beyond these hardships lies new wealth, new kingdoms, and new challenges worthy of their legendary reputation. His relentless drive pushes them forward, deeper into the unknown. At the banks of the Hydaspes River, Alexander faces a new and formidable adversary, King Porus of the Parava Kingdom. Unlike the Persian kings before him, Porus refuses to flee. He commands a vast army of warriors and mighty war elephants, beasts never before encountered by Alexander's men. The battle is fierce. The elephants charge, trampling soldiers, their tusks crushing shields and armor. Yet Alexander, ever the master tactician, outmaneuvers his opponent. Using the cover of night and a daring river crossing, he surprises Porus from an unexpected angle. The Indian king fights bravely, but ultimately he is defeated. Impressed by his valor and leadership, Alexander spares Porus and grants him governance over his own lands, now part of the Macedonian Empire. With the conquest of the Hydaspes complete, Alexander solidifies his legacy by founding a new city, Nicaea, meaning City of Victory. Like Alexandria, it is built to commemorate his achievements and stand as a reminder of Greek influence in the East. Yet despite this triumph, cracks begin to form in his once loyal army. His men, exhausted and longing for home, grow weary of the endless campaigns. Murmurs of dissent begin to spread. Having conquered the known world, Alexander finally returns to Babylon, the city he dreamed of making his imperial capital. As he enters its grand gates, the people cheer his name, hailing him as their god king. He has achieved the impossible, uniting Greece, Persia, and now India under his rule. The wealth of the world flows into his empire, and Babylon stands as a beacon of his achievements. Yet for all his victories, Alexander is not at peace. He is only 32 years old, and the world still stretches beyond the horizon. What other lands remain to be conquered? What legacies remain to be forged? As Alexander gazes over his vast empire, doubt creeps into his mind. He has conquered nations, overthrown empires, and reshaped the world. But can such a vast dominion truly hold together? His vision of a unified East and West is met with resistance from both Greeks and Persians alike. His once loyal generals now scheme for their own gain. Meanwhile, whispers of rebellion stir in distant provinces. And what of his dreams beyond the horizon? Arabia, Carthage, even the far reaches of the unknown world? Fate, however, has other plans. Soon Alexander's dreams will be cut short, but his name, Alexander the Great, will live on for eternity. In the year 323 BC, within the grand walls of Babylon, The mighty Alexander, once unstoppable on the battlefield, finds himself waging a war he cannot win. A relentless fever grips him, draining the strength that once shattered empires. Day by day, his body weakens, his breath grows shallower, and the fire in his eyes begins to fade. His loyal generals, the men who had followed him through deserts, across mountains, and into the heart of Persia, now stand helplessly by his bedside. They had seen him cheat death countless times, facing overwhelming odds, surviving wounds that would have felled any other man. But this battle is different. There is no enemy to outmaneuver, no strategy to employ. As the fever worsens, whispers of uncertainty spread through the palace halls. The fate of an empire, one that stretched from Greece to India, now hangs in the balance. The world watches in silence as the greatest conqueror of all time drifts closer to the abyss, his once unbreakable spirit flickering like a dying flame. On June 10th, 323 BC, a hush falls over Babylon. The unthinkable has happened. The greatest warrior, the king who bent the world to his will, has drawn his final breath. Alexander the Great, the man who stood undefeated in battle, is dead. He was only 32 years old. The news spreads like wildfire, sending shockwaves through his empire. From the marble streets of Greece to the vast deserts of Persia, from the towering mountains of India to the banks of the Nile, the people mourn the loss of a man who had become more than a king. He was a legend, a force of nature, a god in the eyes of many. But now that God is gone, and his empire, built on blood, ambition, and an unrelenting vision, stands on the edge of ruin. Without Alexander's guiding hand, the unity he fought for begins to crack. His generals, once bound by loyalty to their leader, now turn on one another, each seeking to carve out their own piece of his legacy. The empire he forged, stretching across 3 continents, is too vast, too fragile to hold together without him. In the end, it will crumble, not by the might of an enemy, but by the greed and ambition of those who could never be as great as the man who built it. After Alexander's death, the empire he forged with fire and steel stands at a crossroads. Vast and mighty, it stretches from the shores of Greece to the distant lands of India. Yet without its leader, it is like a ship without a captain, drifting into chaos. His generals, his most trusted companions, the men who once rode beside him into battle, now see the empire not as a unified realm, but as a prize to be claimed. Greed, ambition, and rivalry consume them. Once bound by their loyalty to Alexander, they now turn against each other, each believing they are the rightful heir to his legacy. What follows is a struggle for power, a brutal series of wars known as the Wars of the Diadochi. The empire, too vast to be ruled by one, begins to break apart. Egypt falls into the hands of Ptolemy. Seleucus claims the eastern lands from Persia to India. Antigonus, Lysimachus, and Cassander battle for dominance over Greece and Macedon. The unity that Alexander fought so hard to create dissolves into a battlefield of ambition. His dream of a single, unstoppable empire vanishes, leaving behind only shattered kingdoms and warring rulers. In the end, the world he conquered does not belong to one, but to many, and none can ever match the greatness of the man who once ruled it all. Though his empire crumbled in the hands of lesser men, Alexander's legacy did not die with him. His name echoes through the ages, not just as a conqueror, but as a visionary who reshaped the world. In the cities he built, Alexandria, Babylon, Persepolis, and many more, his influence lives on. These were not just strongholds of war, but centers of culture, learning, and trade. The greatest of them all, Alexandria in Egypt, would become a beacon of knowledge, home to the legendary Library of Alexandria, where scholars from every corner of the known world would gather to study, debate, and expand the boundaries of human understanding. His conquests did more than redraw maps. They bridged civilizations. Greek philosophy, art, and science intertwined with the cultures of Persia, Egypt, and India, creating a new era of intellectual and cultural exchange, the Hellenistic Age. His dream of unity may have died with him, but the seeds he planted would shape the course of history for centuries to come. Even now, more than 2 millennia later, his name still inspires. Warriors, leaders, and visionaries look to him as the ultimate symbol of ambition and greatness. His empire may have fallen, but Alexander himself remains immortal, not just in stone and history books, but in the very foundations of the modern world. The world Alexander envisioned, the fusion of cultures, the spread of knowledge, the unbreakable link between East and West, lives on. His dream did not perish with him. It took root in the lands he conquered, in the ideas he ignited, in the people he led. But with his death, an era comes to a close. The age of a single unstoppable empire, ruled by one man's brilliance, fades into history. The world Alexander fought to unite now fractures, and in its place, a new world begins, one shaped by the remnants of his ambition, by the kingdoms his generals carved from his legacy, and by the echoes of his influence that will be felt for centuries to come. No ruler before him had dared to dream so boldly, to reach so far, to leave a mark so deep upon history. And though time moves forward, though empires rise and fall, Alexander's legend remains, a testament to the power of vision, the price of conquest, and the unrelenting force of a man who refused to be bound by the limits of his time. Though his empire crumbled, the echoes of Alexander's vision still resonate through time. His conquest may have been fleeting, but the world he shaped endures. In the cities he founded, Alexandria, the shining jewel of knowledge, Babylon, the crossroads of empires, and countless others, his influence remains etched in stone and history. These were not just settlements, but legacies of his ambition, places where Greek, Persian, and Egyptian cultures blended, creating something entirely new. The libraries he inspired, most famously the Library of Alexandria, became sanctuaries of knowledge, preserving and expanding the wisdom of the ancient world. Scholars, philosophers, and scientists, generations after him, would build upon the foundations laid by the man who sought to bridge worlds. And the cultures he touched, Greece, Persia, Egypt, India, forever bear the imprint of his ambition. Art, language, philosophy, and governance all evolved under his influence, giving birth to the Hellenistic Age, a time of unparalleled cultural exchange. Alexander may have been mortal, but his name, his legend, his legacy, these are eternal. In every corner of the world his story is told, his dreams still inspire, and the empire of his vision, though no longer bound by borders, continues to live on in the fabric of history itself. After Alexander's death, the unity of his vast empire shatters. Without his leadership, the land he once ruled as one fractures into rival kingdoms, each claimed by the men who had once been his most trusted generals, the Diadochi, the successors. Ptolemy seizes Egypt, securing its wealth and power, laying the foundation for a dynasty that will last for centuries. Seleucus takes control of the eastern provinces, stretching from Persia to India, forging an empire of his own. Antigonus, ambitious and relentless, wages war for dominance over the western territories, seeking to claim what Alexander left behind. But no matter how fiercely they fight, no matter how many battles they win, none can truly rebuild what Alexander had created. His empire was not just a collection of lands, it was an idea, a vision of a world united under one ruler, one culture, one destiny. Now that vision is gone. In its place, the successors wage endless wars, each vying for supremacy, each carving out their own piece of Alexander's legacy. What was once a single, unstoppable force is now a battleground of ambition and betrayal. The dream of one empire has died with its king, and in its place, a new era of warring kingdoms begins. Despite the division of his empire, Alexander's dream does not die. Though his generals carve up his lands and fight for power, the world he envisioned, a world where cultures unite, where knowledge flows freely, continues to flourish. This is the birth of the Hellenistic Age, a time when Greek philosophy, science, and art intertwine with the traditions of Persia, Egypt, and India. Cities like Alexandria, his greatest legacy, rise as beacons of learning and progress. Within its grand libraries and bustling streets, Greek scholars debate with Eastern philosophers, mathematicians refine their theories, and explorers chart new horizons. Trade, language, and ideas spread across continents, shaping civilizations for centuries to come. The fusion of East and West, once merely a dream, becomes a lasting reality, one that outlives the wars of his successors, the fall of his empire, and even the memory of those who sought to replace him. Alexander may have died young, but the world he reshaped lives on. His conquests were not just of land, but of knowledge and culture. And in that, his vision of unity endures, not through kings or armies, but through the lasting imprint of a world forever changed by his ambition. Far in the east, where the edges of Alexander's empire once met the ancient civilizations of Central Asia, his legacy continues to thrive. In Bactria, a land distant from Greece yet forever touched by its influence, Greek culture takes root, blending seamlessly with the traditions of the East. Greek architecture rises in foreign lands, with grand columns and marble facades standing beside Eastern temples and palaces. Hellenistic cities flourish, their streets filled with a mix of languages, Greek, Persian, Indian, each echoing the diverse world Alexander sought to unite. Greek art and philosophy merge with Buddhist traditions, giving birth to a unique cultural fusion that will inspire generations to come. Even as time moves forward and new empires rise, Alexander's presence lingers. Coins bearing his image continue to circulate. His military strategies remain studied. His dream of a connected world, where East and West are no longer separate, but intertwined, lives on in the heart of Central Asia. Though the conqueror is long gone, his influence stretches beyond his lifetime, shaping a future he would never see, but one that remains in many ways his greatest triumph. Greek philosophy, once confined to the city-states of Greece, spreads far and wide, carried by the winds of Alexander's conquests. The teachings of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, pillars of Greek thought, travel with his armies, finding fertile ground in the lands he conquered and beyond. As his empire expands, so does the influence of these great thinkers. Socrates' method of questioning, Plato's ideas about ideal forms, and Aristotle's exploration of logic and ethics are passed down through generations. Their teachings are not just for philosophers, but for leaders, scholars, and everyday people who seek to understand the world around them. In cities like Alexandria, new schools of thought arise. These philosophical traditions blend with local ideas, creating a melting pot of intellectual pursuit. The wisdom of the Greeks is woven into the fabric of Eastern traditions, fostering a cross-cultural dialogue that alters the way people see themselves and their place in the world. These ideas spark revolutions in thought, challenging old beliefs and giving rise to new ways of thinking about ethics, politics, nature, and existence. The seeds planted by Alexander in both his conquests and his embrace of knowledge changed the course of history. And long after his death, the world remains shaped by the philosophical legacy of Greece, changing, evolving, and forever altering the way humanity views its own existence. In the years that follow Alexander's death, the world he once unified through vision, ambition, and sheer force of will begins to unravel. His successors, the Diadochi, wage war after war, each one claiming a piece of the empire that Alexander built. Yet despite their military might and ambition, none can ever grasp the unity and vision that he held. Each general fights for control, driven by personal ambition, but their goals are fractured and their dreams of empire never align with the singular vision that Alexander had. They struggle to maintain what he created, but in doing so, they destroy what made his empire so unique. A shared dream of a united world where cultures blended, knowledge flourished, and borders faded. As the battles rage on, the world Alexander dreamed of slips further away. The promise of a harmonious world, where East and West were one, dissolves into dust, overshadowed by endless conflict. The storm clouds of war, once confined to the battlefield, now cast their shadow over his legacy. The peace he sought to bring is lost in the chaos of the wars that follow his death. Though his empire may have stretched across continents, it was the dream that truly held it together. And as his successors fight to claim the pieces of that dream, the storm of war leaves his grand vision behind, a fading memory in the wake of endless strife. As centuries pass, the once mighty Hellenistic kingdoms, those fragments of Alexander's grand empire, begin to crumble under the weight of time. The dreams that were once embodied in their cities and their cultures fade as internal strife, external invasions, and changing powers take their toll. Egypt, once the jewel of the empire and a beacon of knowledge, succumbs to decline. The grand city of Alexandria, founded by Alexander himself, loses its former glory. The Great Library of Alexandria, a symbol of human achievement in the blending of cultures, is looted and destroyed, its vast treasures of knowledge scattered to the winds. What once represented the heights of intellectual and cultural exchange is reduced to ruin. The world that Alexander had envisioned, a world of unity where cultures intertwined and knowledge flourished, begins to crumble. His empire, stretching from Greece to Egypt to the farthest reaches of India, becomes a distant memory lost to history. The great cities, once vibrant with ideas and commerce, fall into neglect. The lasting legacy of his conquests is erased as time erodes the foundations of his dream. Alexander's empire may have been vast, but in the end, it was the vision of a united world that proved too fragile to endure. And as the centuries march on, that vision fades, lost in the annals of time, leaving behind only fragments of a dream that once promised to change the world. Though the empire Alexander the Great built has long since vanished, his legacy remains, deeply ingrained in the fabric of history. The cities he founded, like Alexandria, continue to stand as monuments to his vision, a vision that forever changed the course of the world. Alexandria, once a bustling hub of knowledge, still echoes with the intellectual vibrancy that Alexander fostered, even as the sands of time have shifted. The teachings of Greek philosophy, spread far and wide by Alexander's conquests, endure across the centuries. The ideas of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, once carried to the farthest corners of the ancient world, still shape the way we think today. Their influence is felt not only in academia, but in the very way we approach ethics, politics, and knowledge. The world Alexander shaped, the world of interconnected cultures, where East met West and ideas flowed freely between them, is the world we still live in. The foundations he laid in the realms of science, art, and culture continue to influence modern society. The roads he traveled, the cities he built, and the philosophies he spread form the backbone of much of our modern world. Though his empire has faded into history, the echoes of Alexander's greatness reverberate through time. His vision, his conquests, and his ideals live on, shaping the world we know today. A world that will always carry the imprint of the man who sought to unite it all. You've just witnessed the incredible journey of Alexander the Great. Now let's see how much you remember. Take your time as you think back on the story, and when you're ready, drop your answers in the comments. Can you get all 5 questions right? 1. When Alexander stepped onto Asian soil, what did he do? A. Built a temple. B. Threw a spear into the ground. C. Declared war on Egypt. D. Signed a peace treaty. So, which battle marked Alexander's first victory against the Persians? A. Battle of Issus. B. Battle of Gaugamela. C. Battle of Granicus. D. Battle of Tyre. 3. What did Alexander do to the Gordian knot? A. Untied it carefully. B. Cut it with his sword. C. Ignored it. D. Burned it. 4. At which battle did Alexander finally defeat Darius III? A. Battle of Babylon. B. Battle of Persepolis. C. Battle of Issus. D. Battle of Gaugamela. 5. Which city did Alexander burn, marking the symbolic end of Persia? A. Susa. B. Ephesus. C. Persepolis. D. Alexandria. Take your time and comment below with your answers. Challenge your friends to test their knowledge too. Let's see who's the true history expert. And thank you so much for watching our channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content.